Here is a fact you've been told that is flatly, statistically false. That everyone used to die at 30. Because 30,000 years ago, someone's grandmother was very much alive. Grey, leathery, and burying her third husband. Cursing the cold and telling the young hunters that in her day, they'd have speared that mammoth before lunch. You've heard the line 100 times. In the old days, you were lucky to see your own birthday cake. Cavemen, peasants, knights, all of them gone before the modern person even finishes university. And yet the ground is full of old skeletons. Grey-haired elders from eras when the average was supposedly half of that. So either the bones are lying, or the famous figure is. And the grim figure is real. I'm not here to wave it off. The early Bronze Age clocks in at a life expectancy of 24. By 2019, the planet reached 73. We tripled the lifespan. Same body, no upgrades, 3 times the warranty. Lovely. But that number was never about you. Life expectancy at birth is just an average. And averages are sneaky things. They tell you about the room and quietly leave out everybody in it. The 73 on your country's chart isn't a prophecy about your funeral. It's bookkeeping for millions of strangers, most of whom you'll never resemble. Take a society with a life expectancy of 40. You'd picture a crowd of people quietly keeling over on their 40th birthday. That's not what happens. Hardly anyone dies at exactly 40. Most go either before 30 or comfortably after 55. The average sits in a gap where almost nobody actually lands. Put a lost infant and a grey-haired elder side by side, split the difference, and you get 40. A number that describes neither of them. It's an answer to a question nobody's life ever asked. Now look at hunter-gatherers, our closest living window onto the Stone Age. Life expectancy at birth lands around 33, which sounds like everyone dropped dead before they finished puberty. They didn't. Survive to your 15th birthday and the number leaps to 54. And the most common age of death for the adults who made it through? Around 72. 72, still chasing down dinner with a pointed stick. Old enough to be the elder who knows where the good berries grow and won't stop telling you about it. Skip forward to medieval England. A 13th century nobleman had a life expectancy at birth of about 30. Yet once he'd survived to 21, the whole picture flipped. Between 1200 and 1300, that young lord could expect to reach 64. A couple of centuries on, 71. The one grim exception was the 1300s, when the bubonic plague hauled it down to 45. Which, to be fair to the plague, is a fairly solid excuse. And money, by the way, did not buy you out of any of this. A study of China's emperors, men who owned literally everything, found they averaged just 41 years from the first dynasty to the last. Meanwhile, the Buddhist monks lived to 67, the royal doctors to 75, and the emperor's own servants made it to 71. Being the most powerful man alive was, statistically, worse for your health than emptying his chamber pot. Crowns, it turns out, attract knives. So what is actually dragging that birth number into the dirt? At birth, the figure is grimly low. Survive a little and it leaps up by decades. One population, one diet, the same wolves at the door, yet wildly different odds, all hanging on a single thing. Something right at the very start of life was hauling the whole average through the floor. Here is the answer, and it is the whole reason the number lies. In every pre-modern society, the single deadliest moment in a human life was the very first year of it. Among hunter-gatherers, more than 1 in 5 infants did not survive that first year. Only about a quarter went on to grow old, so the average was never describing a typical life at all. It was 2 completely different stories, many that ended heartbreakingly early, and many that ran long and grey, folded into one figure that fit neither. You can watch it happen in the records. In colonial Virginia, the average sank below 25. In one stretch of London, 3 out of 4 children never saw their 5th birthday. Sounds like a world of wall-to-wall funerals. But the ones who ran that gauntlet of childhood often grew genuinely old. They were just sharing a statistic with everyone who didn't. At this point, 2 experts start throwing chairs, and honestly, I'm with one of them. Science writer Christopher Wanjek plants his flag. The human race has not gained a single extra year. We are not living 1 day longer than the cavemen did. His proof? The oldest verified human ever, Jean Calment, hit 122 back in 1997, and in all the decades since, with all our machines and medicine, nobody's come close. The ceiling hasn't moved an inch. Which is technically true and completely misses the point. Like bragging the long jump record hasn't budged while ignoring that everyone else used to faceplant at the start line. Anthropologist John Hawkes rolls his eyes so hard you can hear it. Congratulations, Christopher. You've measured the one person at the very back of the queue. Fewer of us now die at 20, at 30, at 40, at every single rung on the way up. Same ceiling, but the whole crowd has finally made it into the room. So here is what has been quietly true the whole time. For as long as there have been humans, there have been grandparents. Old people telling long, rambling stories deep in the Stone Age. Living memory reaching back further than anyone ever sold you. The line about dying at 30 was never the tale of how short a life had to be. It was the shadow of all the lives that barely got to begin. You were probably going to make it to 70 all along. You just had to survive being very, very small.